Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us too.
Hello, for me it's a morning in Portugal, Europe. I am Diede, I'm 34, I'm originally from the Netherlands, and I moved to Portugal around almost 3 years ago. I am a dietitian and intuitive eating coach, and I help people to regain their trusting in their body, ditch diets, and really feel more comfortable around food again. I will tell you how I got here. So I'm originally from the Netherlands, and I was a very timid girl. I got bullied in school, even in high school, and I never really felt like I was in my own skin, that I was really feeling comfortable. And I never really knew what I wanted to study as well. But I was always reading the backs of products. So when I finally decided to study to become a dietitian, my mom was not really surprised, and she was like, "Yes, that's really something that will suit you." So we started studying as a dietitian, and I thought like. Just going into the science field was very interesting, but just after 1 year, I was like, no, this is not for me. I really like sociology, psychology in the studies. That ticked my heart, and I thought it was really interesting. But still, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my studies. And after studying, I had an internship at a private practice, and I started working there, and never really knew what it really was, what I wanted to do. I just worked as a dietitian, and there were so many people coming on my path, a lot of people that were overweight, some people actually that were like underweight, had really problems with keeping the weight on, people with heart diseases, people with diabetes, people with lung problems. So it was just, if you would go to the doctor and the doctor said you have to do something with your food, or you have to do something about your weight, they would come on my path, and I would try to help them to go to their goals. And although a lot of people had these sicknesses, or how do you call it in English? I'm not sure the word, but a lot of people that had like diabetes or heart disease, one part of it in the dietitian advice I would give was, of course, to lose weight. But the biggest part was actually to try to eat certain foods and change their lifestyle so this would become better. But the client almost always just stepped on the scale right when they came into the room, like, "Hi, I'm here. How are you doing? Can I step on the scale? I want to know my weight." And the whole story afterwards, the whole conversation afterwards was almost always about weight. I had some struggles about my weight as well. And it wasn't big. I just wanted to lose like 2, 3, 4, 5 kilos. That was just it. I would stand on the scale myself every week in this certain spot where I worked. And I felt the same as my clients. I would be so overjoyed when there was like a couple of kilos down. And I'm like, yes, I've been doing good. The same for my clients. They're like, ooh, the weight has become lower. So I've been doing good. And then the next time we would step on the scale and they would step on the scale and it was like maybe higher, even though all that they did was still what we talked about. They felt great. If they would step on the scale, everything was just like out of the window. This is not good. I have not been doing it the right things. I have not been eating well enough. I've been doing something wrong. Although they did everything we talked about. So at that point, I was like, what's going on here? Everything is about weight. It's not really about what we do. It's not really about our lifestyle. It's not about what we eat or if we feel good around it. It's just only about that stupid number on the scale. And I was like, this is drowning my energy. I don't feel like I'm actually helping them anymore. So it's like there needs to be something different. And I actually saw from an old colleague of mine. She posted something on Instagram. I was like, this is interesting. So I asked her like, where are you getting this from? What is the thought behind these things you're posting? And then she said, well, there's this book, Intuitive Eating, from two dietitians in America. And I was like, okay, let me get that book. And I opened the book and I was like, okay, this is what I've been looking for. Although I didn't know I was looking for it. This was like what I've been looking for a long time. And everything in the book just like dawned on me. And I was like, yes, I recognize so many stories from myself and from my clients in these books. That I was like, okay, this is something I want to do. This is something I wanna try out. So I did a whole course in the United States, online, of course, the wonderful world of the internet. I did a whole course online with Evelyn Tribbley, one of the founders of Intuitive Eating, and I was like, it was so great to have found this, and I could just really help, use this already a little bit in my consultations with my clients, and of course, lots of people were like, what the hell is this? I'm not going to do this. I just want to lose weight. But there were really some people that are really open-minded about this and really felt like, yes, I don't want to keep on dieting the rest of my life. I just want to feel happy about my life and that what I'm doing right now here in these consultations is actually going to help me in the long run. So yeah, I really started working with this, but still got so many people in my practice that were wanting to have something else from me that I was not really willing to give them anymore, because I really felt like just giving them a diet or a list of things they had to do, which is what they wanted, was like, this is not helping you. So how am I supposed to give you something that I'm not behind anymore? So I then just quit my job in this practice and thought like, I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna help people really on this lifestyle journey to become healthier, to become happier, to stop dieting and worrying about around food and movement as well, and just enjoy life again. So this was like an intuitive journey for me as well. That's why I sometimes call intuitive eating not only intuitive eating but intuitive living, because it had such a influence on me and my life. I quit my job. I started traveling. I ended up in Portugal just because a couple of people said, no, I think Portugal will be a great country for you to go to. And well, almost 3 years later, I'm still here. I don't feel like it was a super like a choice. I really feel like it was this intuitive feeling that I had to follow. I feel way more comfortable here. I'm way more feeling the person that I want to be in my own body, in my own environment. And I think that that vibe really helps my clients as well when I talk to them now, to really help them to follow their intuition, to follow their heart, and to get all these advices that we hear around us about how we need to follow our life, how we need to live our life, how we need to eat, how we need to do all these things, to just hear them out, but really mold it into a way that works for me, that works for my clients, and really feel that what they feel is good for them is the good thing for them, instead of comparing themselves to what other people do, and that they maybe need to follow that advice as well. So yeah, that's my story, going from a very intimate like person that didn't really feel good about what she was doing and good in her own life, into following my own intuition and my path, and helping other people to do this around food and movement themselves as well.
Wow, absolutely wonderful. What you're sharing is music to my ears. Being one of those people who's had a weight that goes up and down and up and down and up and down,
Yeah.
and then learning to kind of tune in and listen to my body more in terms of what it needed. So,
Yeah.
can you explain the concept of intuitive eating and
Yes.
how it differs from the traditional diet plans?
Yeah. So let me tell first, diet plans, everybody knows them. You get like a set of rules that you need to do. Like if
Yeah.
we do intermittent fasting, it's like you can only eat between these times. And there are some different things about intermittent fasting, like you don't eat for a couple, like a day or something, and then you eat a day or for a couple of hours.
Yes.
With carbohydrates, of course, it's like, okay, less carbohydrates can only be this set amount, or less fats, it can only be this amount, or we can only eat light foods, or we can only do this. So like a whole set of rules. We can't eat after 8, or even like Big Macs, that's bad, you can't eat it, and this is healthy food. So there's like all these rules that we have to comply.
Yes.
But if you crave for chocolate, and chocolate is not in your diet, you're
Mhm.
bad, right? It's you're doing something bad. This is not what you're supposed to do. So the
Yeah.
whole different thing with intuitive eating is that we just kick all these rules out of the door. We're not gonna follow these rules, because they're very, a lot of times they're really working against each other. Like the
Yes.
fat industry says, no, fats are healthy, low, you have to do this. And then we have the carbohydrates, no, you have to do this. So there's so many different rules, and yeah, you just get a little bit confused because of it. So that's
Yeah.
diets, we know them. So yeah,
Yes.
unluckily everybody knows them. Intuitive eating is very simple, and I say it's very simple because it's not simple at all, but it is about feeling when you're hungry,
Okay.
getting more trust in your body, that when your body says you're hungry, you need food. So start to eat when you're hungry.
Mm.
Feel what you're craving as well. So if you like, I really want to have something fresh, then eating something that complies with that craving. Then feeling as well, when are you full? When do you feel like I have this like nice level of fullness?
Okay.
And then stopping with eating. Most of the time we have all these rules coming up in our head, like, but I can't be full now because I didn't eat that much, or especially the other way around, I should be full because I already ate so much, but I'm
Yeah.
still hungry. So intuitive eating is sort of like, okay, I hear these things, but I'm just gonna trust my body that it tells me when I'm hungry and when I'm full. So
Yes.
that's the very simple thing. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. But there's so much things around it, because we use food as coping mechanism as well.
Yes.
So finding different ways to cope with emotions than just food. It's not that we can't use food anymore, but that
Mm-hmm.
there's other coping mechanisms we can use as well. Finding joy in movement, like not going to the gym just to lose kilocalories. Like I'm gonna work this cake off. No, just really feel good in your body and enjoy the movements that you're doing again. So it's
Yeah, and it
actually
doesn't
set,
matter what
yeah.
movement it is. It can be any movement, so long as you're moving your
Yes.
body physically, right?
Yes. So I
Yeah.
had this client who started biking, like bicycling, and he was like enjoying it. He did it for 2 months already. And then the next time he came in, and his wife had said, yeah, but if you go running, you lose more kilocalories. I was like, do
Uh,
you like running? And he was like, no, I do not like running.
really.
Do you like bicycling? I was like, riding a bike. He was like, yes, I love it. Like, okay, you've been
Uh,
doing it for yeah, like 20 kilometers a day, almost every day he did it. It was like he was still
yes.
enjoying it. And I was like, if you had started running, would you still do it after 2 months? He's like, no,
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 he
I would
wouldn't.
not have done it.
Yeah.
So do something that you enjoy and that you will keep doing in the long run, even
Yeah.
though at one point you stop doing like riding a bike and you find a new hobby. You, I don't know, you go skating or something. It's still
Yes.
something you can enjoy. So just really feel like, yeah, feel like what you like instead of, oh, this is
What
so
you
many
have to
kilocalories.
do.
What you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And
Yeah,
everybody enjoys something different.
I don't do very well in closed spaces or gyms. I hate gyms, but I can walk for 10, 15 kilometers, 2 hours walking and
Yeah.
getting my steps in. And that's kind of my form of exercise. The other
Yeah.
thing that I learned about intuitive eating is that sometimes when you feel those hunger pangs, you're probably more thirsty than you are hungry.
Could
Somebody said
be.
to me, get a glass of water before you eat anything. Just hydrate yourself and see how you feel after that. Is that true?
Could be, but it could be at the same time a bad advice as well, because when you're
Okay.
hungry and you're just drinking a glass of water, you think you're a little bit full, but it's
Right.
just water. It's not giving you energy.
Nutrition. Yeah.
So yeah, any nutrition. So when we're hungry, we need food. It's the same thing as like when your bladder is full, you need to
Yes.
go to the
You need to
toilet.
go.
There's
Yeah.
no way around it. So it can be a good advice because sometimes we do not know the difference between drinks, like I'm thirsty, and
Yes.
between being hungry. So
Yeah.
it is, as a testing method, it's very
Yes.
well a good thing. But when it's going to be a rule, I always have to drink water before I eat, then it's
Yeah.
then it's
No.
actually
And it's,
going off. But it's a very good testing method. Like, huh, I'm hungry again. I just ate. Wait a minute.
yes.
I didn't drink for a long time. Just try it out if it is working. Yeah. Because drinking, well, I'm for sure somebody who forgets it. I'm like working, and in the morning have like a cup of tea and a cup of coffee and maybe some water, and then in
Yeah.
the afternoon I'm like, I don't know, it's out there. So sometimes it's really a good idea to that those moments, like, yes, okay, let's try this first. If it's
Yeah.
not working, then I can, yeah, just eat.
Find
Yeah.
something else. I
Yes.
love it. That is so, so true.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the common misconceptions about intuitive eating that you encounter in your practice?
Yes. So I just heard it from a client just like an hour ago. A lot of people think that intuitive eating, like just what I said, is just eating when you're hungry and
Yeah.
stop eating when you're full.
Right.
But lots of people have lost this touch with their bodies, so they don't know how hunger feels. So they don't know how satiety feels. So at that moment, it really is important to get back into touch with your body. And
Right.
if you don't feel when you're hungry, you get up in the morning like, I'm not hungry. Yes, around 1 in the afternoon, that's the only time I feel hungry. It's almost
Right.
not possible probably you had some hunger, but you just didn't feel it. Then starting with intuitive eating, it really starts with getting a more of a little bit of a like a balance and a foundation back into
Mhm.
your life, like eating a breakfast, eating lunch, eating dinner, but while doing that, still tuning in, how hungry do I actually feel?
Yeah.
So you
Uh-huh.
start with your breakfast, and I say you have to eat breakfast. Well,
Yes.
have that moment and check in, like, okay, could I be hungry right now? How hungry am I? What am I craving
Mhm.
for? And it's not that I want to say you need to eat. In the Netherlands, it's very common to eat just bread with cheese or bread with chocolate sprinkles, very
Yes.
Dutch. I don't want to say you have to eat this breakfast every morning and it has to be the
Right.
same amount, but that you can check in, like, I just had one slice of bread. Do I crave a little bit more? Or was this
Mhm.
enough already? And do I want to have like an extra slice of bread, or do I just want to have an apple with it? Like having that thing. So the misconception is it's just eating when you're hungry, stop when you're eating when you're full, and you can eat everything in the whole world. But then it's not complying with your intuition anymore. If you're
Yeah.
just gonna stuff yourself full until you're nauseous,
And that it defeats the
miss
whole object.
right? You missed somewhere your intuition that said, I've had enough. So, yeah, it's way more balanced than just eating everything
I
at
love it.
any moment. How much?
So, how do you help clients overcome the ingrained diet culture mindset
Yeah.
and learn to trust their bodies?
Yeah, that's a good question because we live in this diet mentality world, right? It's
Yes.
it's everywhere. Even if you like listen to the radio or open a magazine or a newspaper, there's always some advice about what we need to do around food. So the
Yes.
first it's so intuitive eating has 10 principles, and the first principle is ditch diet mentality.
Right.
Although the principles don't have like a start and a finish, it's really, for me, the first principle is really a start, because if you do not see that following these rules and doing diets is going against what you actually need, you can't work on intuitive eating. So the
Right.
first kind of step is being aware what dieting and diet rules has done to you.
Right.
So this already starts for us as a child. Like, you have to finish your plate. Like, you can't leave stuff on your plate. You have to finish your plate, or you only get a dessert after you have finished your dinner, or you can only, I don't know, eat like crisps in the weekend or something. We already start with a lot of rules around food when we are a kid. So the
Right.
first kind of step is really seeing that these rules are actually working against you than helping you.
Right.
And realizing that, this is a big one as well, that being thin doesn't mean that you are healthy,
Yeah.
and the other way around, that being fat doesn't mean that you're unhealthy. So that's
Okay.
really a first step, and luckily most people that I see in my practice already have made this step. They
Right.
already see, like, they've been dieting for so long, they already see that's not gonna, it's not working, because if they've done that, they would they wouldn't, like, if a diet would have worked, they wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
If like they always say, let's take a look at Oprah. She has done every diet in the book, right?
Oh,
She has read every book. But
yeah.
if that first diet worked, she didn't have to do all the other ones.
That's true.
So a lot of times it really seems like diets are what you need to do, but it's actually not really
Mm.
helping you. So that's really the first step. Then there's a lot of trust issues with their body. They don't trust their body to be able to
Mhm.
tell them what their body needs
Needs.
actually. So we
Yeah.
really start with slow steps to get in touch with the body again. Like,
Right.
I just asked the client just now, like, are you hungry? Just at this moment, are you
Mm.
hungry? It's like sometimes it's a very weird question because we don't know if this is hungry or not, but just checking
Yeah.
in a couple of times during the day, checking in like, what do I feel in my body now? Is it something here or is it something in my belly? How does it feel? And then checking on like the scale, where am I? Am I more to satiety or am I more in the hungry field? Like just really asking yourself this question,
Yeah.
really just take a minute to zoom in. Most of the time we don't do that. Most of the time, like, oh, there's a feeling, we just jump into it, we just start eating or we just start drinking something. So it's really
Yes.
kind of taking a step back and checking in with, how do I feel right now? What does my, yeah, what is my body trying to tell me?
Tell me,
um,
yes.
and that's not something like, oh, the first time yes, okay, this is what my body telling me. It's really training your mind muscle to be more aware of how your body is feeling. And
Right.
that takes a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, to really become aware of what your body is telling you. Not only when you're really stepping back and asking yourself this question, but in the long run, that you don't really have to put the effort in anymore. It's going to become a natural feeling. Yeah.
Wow, this is so simple but very complicated.
Yes.
So, can you share a success story from your practice where intuitive eating significantly improved a client's relationship with food and their overall well-being?
Yes. So I don't have like one story, because this is what most of my clients at one point have this experience.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we have this list of products that is unhealthy, like
Yes.
cookies, biscuits, crisps, Coca-Cola, chocolate, like fries. We have this whole list of products that is supposedly bad for us.
Yes.
And because of this, we try to not eat them. We try to like, no, I can only eat fries one time a week or one time in 2 weeks, or not even at all. No, I should just stop eating chocolate in general. So because of this, at one point there will be a craving. At one point there will be a point that you're like, oh my God, yes, there is
I want to
this.
eat it.
Yes, and it's sometimes it doesn't really feel like want. It just, I need to eat this right now. It doesn't sometimes feel like a choice anymore, but just something that you're drawn to, like this inner fishing line is pulling you towards it. And
Yeah.
most of the time, you probably recognize this. You don't eat just a piece of chocolate. You will eat
No,
like the whole block. You will finish it. It's and then afterwards we feel like,
you're
oh,
terrible.
nauseous, terrible. We feel like bodily terrible, but mind is terrible as well, because like, how
Mhm.
am I able to do this? Why can't I just enjoy a couple of pieces?
Mhm.
Why is just a normal amount not enough for me?
And you start punishing yourself.
Yep. Then you start all over. I shouldn't eat chocolate anymore. And then it
Yeah.
goes on for a while until you get this push again and you eat maybe even twice as much. Yeah. So it's
Mhm.
like this struggle around.
Yeah.
It is possible to feel good around chocolate, to feel a craving for chocolate. I'm just saying chocolate, but I mean this whole list of products that is in your mind that you shouldn't eat.
Yeah.
Um, it is possible to just like, oh, I want some chocolate, and just eat like a couple of pieces and it's fine afterwards. You don't feel like this whole struggle in your mind, like, oh, I shouldn't eat, I should stop now. It is really possible to just have this craving for chocolate, eat the chocolate, that's it. No thoughts afterwards, no
Yeah.
bad feeling afterwards, just really enjoyment. And that it's possible to just have these products in a cabinet in your kitchen. Just leave them there for
Mhm.
a couple of days, maybe even weeks, and just forget about it.
Right.
It is possible. in the beginning, I was like, say, how is it possible? The chocolate is just screaming from the cabinet towards me and towards my client. I just had a client yesterday in my group coaching, and she said, because some clients had this question like, are we getting there? Is this possible? And one of my clients already did this, and she said, yes, it is possible. It can just be there. I can just like have, okay, some chocolates I really like. I'm going to eat them a little bit earlier than the other ones. And some of these bars, some of these packages are just in my fridge or just in the cabinet. They're just there. I don't care about them. And at one point I'm
Yes.
like, yes, this is what I want. Oh, it's
It?
there. I can
Yeah.
just eat it
Yeah.
and enjoy
Allow
it.
yourself to enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That is so, so true. With all of this going on, what role do emotional and psychological factors play in one's eating habits? And how
Mhm.
do you address these in your counseling sessions?
Yes, that's a very good valid point, because I am a dietitian. I'm not a
Mm,
psychologist.
okay.
But intuitive eating is really going towards psychology, or it's like 50% of it, even probably more, is psychology. So emotional eating is a very big part of it, as well, because a lot of people grow up with eating as a coping mechanism, right?
Mhm.
We feel bad, and the other way around as well. We feel great. There needs to be some food like as a celebration. We have,
Right.
we have a funeral, there will be food. We have a birthday, there will be food. So
Mm,
it's very ingrained in our social structure. But a lot of people grow up with, okay, I feel bad. Here you have a, I don't know, a popsicle or something to feel better.
yes.
So it's a big part, and although it's a big part, you first have to know how hunger feels to be able to see the difference between wanting to eat because you're hungry and wanting to eat because you have a craving for a certain product,
Right.
or because there's an emotion or there's some feeling you want to turn down a little bit by eating.
Eating.
um, Sometimes I really have the advice to make like a connection with a psychologist as well. If it's a
Yes.
really big part of your life, a psychologist can really help you with that part, finding different ways to cope with your feelings and your emotions. Um,
Right.
so sometimes it's really good to have a psychologist who can help you with that part, and of
Mhm.
course have intuitive eating there as well to how do you say that, to get that part to use it in your life, and
Yes.
intuitive eating as well.
Mm,
One thing is as well, a lot of people think when doing intuitive eating they will not eat as a coping mechanism anymore. That's not
yes.
my goal. My goal is that you have eating as a coping mechanism, but you
Mhm.
have maybe 3, 4, 5 different ways as well to cope with these emotions.
Right.
So instead of only having chocolate in your cabinet and you just said to yourself, I'm not going to eat chocolate anymore. You open a
Mm,
cabinet, only chocolate is there. You for sure will be eating that. But if you put different things in there as well, you put like a journal in there, you put like a salad in there, you put like all these different things in there. You open a cabinet, like, oh, there's so many options. You can actually
yes.
have a choice. And that's the same with emotional eating. If emotional eating is the only thing there, food is the only thing there, how you cope with your emotions, and you have no other mechanisms, no other things you can do, you will for sure go for food. But if there's 4 or 5 different ones, you can make a choice. I actually feel better by calling my friend or my mom right now and telling them what I'm going through, instead of keeping it for myself
Yes. And not sharing it.
and not sharing it. Yeah. So it's, yeah, it's a big thing, but eating from emotions is not the goal that we don't do it anymore, but that it's going to be a less, like the amount of it is going to be less, and it's just one of the options.
That's so true. So, how do you advise clients to handle social situations and external pressure that
Yeah.
often challenges their intuitive eating journeys?
Yes, it's a hard one. Like we already said, because
Mhm.
our world is diets, losing weight, being thin. It's so there that it's sometimes really hard to follow your own intuition in this whole story.
Yes.
Um, I ca- I had a client and I thought it was a very good example. She said, "I don't like football, soccer, what you want to call it." So if some people are having a conversation about this, she's like, "I'm just kind of zoning out." I'm like, "Let them have the conversation. I'm starting another conversation with somebody else. What is interesting for me, or I'm just like listening and." Don't engage in the conversation, like just letting do them and me be me. And she said, I'm doing that a little bit around
The
food
truth.
and diet now as well. So this is like what a client told me at one point how she did it. I think it's a very good example. So she is not into certain sports. So she was like, if people talk about these sports, I'm like kind of zoning out. I think it's not interesting. I'm not engaging in this conversation. I'm just
Mhm.
starting a conversation with somebody else, or I'm just like waiting the conversation out until it's going to a topic that is interesting for me. And she
Yeah.
said she's doing that a little bit the same with talks about food, diets, how we should look. She's like, okay, I'm just gonna let them do them and be me. And when the conversation is going in a certain direction that I'm like, oh, this is something I want to say something about, I am engaging in the conversation again. And I
Wow.
think it's a very valid point because a lot of times, especially foods and diets, people kind of like push us into having an opinion about it and having like being engaged in the conversation. But if
Yeah.
it's already so hard for yourself to find a way in trusting your body in this intuitive eating journey, then sometimes you just want to keep it for yourself and you don't want to have other people trying to convince you to go into another diet or into another set of food rules. This is a very much in the beginning, like, just do your own thing and don't like let other people do their own thing. You are finding your own way in this, and when you feel more
Yeah.
comfortable in your own body, when you feel more comfortable around intuitive eating, around food, maybe at one point you feel more a little bit of the urge to get into these conversations. And I have to say, most of the time I'm doing intuitive eating now with my clients for like 5 years. Most of the time
Right.
still I'm like, I don't want to be somebody else who's going to convince you that you need to go intuitive eating. If you have a question for me, I can tell you something about it, but I'm not going to push my view
On
onto
you.
on you. This if it's interesting for you, I will tell you something about it, but not if you're completely in another mindset. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
You do you. Yeah.
I like that. And just having that acceptance of what other people's views can be different.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yes. Yeah.
So, last two questions. If I could take you back to the younger you, the young woman who was struggling with eating, dieting, if you could go back and give yourself three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would you have wanted somebody to have told you then?
There's always uncomfort in the world. So you
Mm,
can choose for the uncomfortable feeling by being yourself and not complying to the ideas and the rules of people in your society or around you. Or you
yeah.
can choose to be uncomfortable by not being you, by do complying to these rules around you.
Mhm.
So there's always going to be uncomfort. Which one do you want to choose? Do you want to choose to be
Yeah.
yourself, or do you want to choose to mold yourself into society?
And think what
That's
society
definitely,
expects.
Yes, definitely. So that's
Mhm.
definitely one of them. Health is not the same as a certain body type or a
Right.
certain look. So you don't have to be thin to be healthy. It's really more about lifestyle, how you like, yeah, lifestyle and choices in your life. It's way more
Yes.
important than looking a certain way.
Yeah.
Eat when you're hungry.
Okay.
It's
Most
it's
important one.
Yes, it's a signal. When you're hungry, your body needs energy. So
Yes.
yes, so when your bladder is full, you go to the toilet. When you're hungry, eat.
Hungry, you eat.
When you're tired as well, go have a nap.
Yeah.
These days, yeah, trust these signals of your body. Just letting them be, follow them, and
Yes.
probably will be a less big problem in the end than just ignoring them. There will be problems in the end. Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today.
Yes,
The Her
thank you
Story
too.
Circle is a platform that shares the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift, energize, inspire, motivate. And I really want to thank everybody who's also tuned in and listened in today. I'm going to share how people can connect with you because I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of people out there who are needing some support and needing help. So I have your website scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So thank you so much for coming online today and sharing your story.
Yes, thank you too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. That's a wrap, everybody, on today's episode of the Diversity Connector podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our vibrant and global conversation. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a tapestry of diverse perspectives. Remember, every story you've heard today is a thread in the larger fabric of our shared humanity. So, as you step back into your world, carry these stories with you and let them inspire you to embrace and celebrate the rich diversity around us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. Do follow us on social media by looking for the Diversity Connector podcast for more updates. Until then, keep connecting, keep listening, and keep celebrating the beauty of diversity. This is the Diversity Connector podcast signing off. Stay curious, stay open, and definitely